Hello everyone, and welcome to the program. During the years of the resistance war against America, the Cambodian riel was an extremely important currency for purchasing weapons, food, and supplies to be transported into the battlefields of southern Vietnam. Everything went smoothly under King Sihanouk. But in 1970, when Lon Nol staged a coup, things became far more difficult. Specifically, Lon Nol issued new currency to invalidate all the riel that Vietnam held. He even sent people to the Wormform printing house to print announcements about the currency exchange. And because Tran Khai Nong was the manager of that printing house, he knew exactly what was happening. The problem was that Lon Nol's troops had completely surrounded the printing house. So Tran Khai Nong couldn't get word out to his comrades. Fortunately, in that critical moment, his wife was still able to move around freely, because she was Cambodian by birth. No one suspected her. Taking advantage of that, Tran Khai Nong told his wife to deliver the message to the People's Army of Vietnam, instructing them to bring all the money back into Cambodia to exchange. Thanks to this, the exchange mission was a success. But the problem that followed was even tougher. Having no money was bad enough, but holding piles of cash was even more dangerous. The Lon Nol regime was searching everywhere for resistance bases. And if anyone from the People's Army of Vietnam was caught with the money, execution was certain. Taking it back to Vietnam for safekeeping wasn't an option either, since the borders were completely sealed. And without money to buy weapons, food, and supplies, the troops would have nothing to eat. The money was there, but there was no way to move it. Sending it back meant death. Leaving it behind also meant death. At that moment, Secretary of the Central Office for South Vietnam, Pham Hung, gave the order, by all means necessary. The money had to be delivered to Vietnam. The men assigned to this mission were Moi Phi, Lu Min Chau, and Tu Can. To slip past Lon Nol's many layers of security, the three men came up with an unusual idea. They packed the money in large plastic bags, covered it with another bag, then poured fermented fish paste, mam bo hoc, a traditional Cambodian delicacy, on top. This paste had an infamously pungent smell. Even from a distance it was unbearable to those unfamiliar with it. Confident in this plan, the People's Army of Vietnam deliberately poked holes in the bags so the stench would leak out. The logic was simple. Lon Nol's soldiers would be too disgusted to come near, let alone search the bags. But what if they were still stopped at a checkpoint? If that happened, 140 soldiers from the People's Army of Vietnam were already positioned nearby, ready to fight to the death to protect the foul-smelling cargo. Luckily, that scenario never occurred. Everything went according to plan. Lon Nol's troops recoiled at the stench and waved them through without resistance. The money was saved. Yet another crisis loomed. Nearly all of the People's Army of Vietnam's bases and facilities in Cambodia had been exposed and destroyed. The war continued, and funds were still needed to keep it going. All the key members of the financial network had been compromised, except for one, Lu Min Chau. His new mission was to return to Saigon and rebuild the network there to support the revolution. But how could he re-enter without being caught and exposing everything that had come before? As an honest man moving openly, he would need legal identification. Without it, entering Saigon was impossible. So, Lu Min Chau devised a plan. He would pose as an overseas Vietnamese returning in search of a lost wife. He went to the home of a Vietnamese expatriate near the Cambodian border, then arranged to be taken by boat to their relatives in southern Vietnam. From there, he sought an introduction to the local hamlet chief, hoping to obtain legal identification papers. But things weren't so simple. The hamlet chief was cold and demanded detailed proof of his story, his birthplace, his job, his family, his life in Cambodia, documents to back it up, even details about his wife and children. Fortunately, Lu Min Chau had it all: family photos, company records from an import-export business in Phnom Penh. Even with this convincing evidence, the hamlet chief remained suspicious and handed him over to the police for interrogation. This was the toughest test yet. The Saigon police were among the sharpest minds of the regime, and they grilled him relentlessly, switching between Cambodian, English, and French. But Lu Min Chau was fluent in all three languages. His answers were consistent, logical, and unwavering. For 34 straight days, they interrogated him, but not once did they find a contradiction. In the end, he was granted legal identification as a citizen of Saigon. His ability to conceal the truth was so masterful that even after being recognized as a legitimate citizen, the Hamlet chief approached him and admitted, "Only now do I believe you're not Viet Cong. You're clearly a businessman, and businessmen could never be Viet Cong. And since you speak multiple foreign languages, there's no way you're Viet Cong." It was thanks to the brilliance and bravery of the financial network's operatives that, even by the war's end, the enemy remained completely unaware of its existence. Even America's top intelligence officers admitted they knew about the Ho Chi Minh Trail on land and sea. But there were almost no records or reports about the secret financial lifeline to the south. They suspected money was being moved, but they could never explain how. That the CIA's most seasoned minds failed to uncover how the People's Army of Vietnam managed its financial network is not surprising. It was so secret that even many of our own people had no idea it existed. It wasn't until decades after the war that the deeds of these unsung heroes came to light. On April 28, 2009, the President of Vietnam awarded the title Hero of the People's Armed Forces to the Special Finance Committee of the Central Office for South Vietnam, Code N 2683 of the State Bank of Vietnam, and to Department B-29 of the Special Fund of the State Bank of Vietnam, for their outstanding achievements during the resistance war against America.